Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the full elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in great riches. But there's a family secret to how they keep their wealth flowing amongst themselves for generation after generation. All right. And I'm going to play a few clips, so y'all can, see the ungodly, tactics, which also displays how insatiable, for wealth that these people truly are. All right. It tells you that they can never be satisfied, so this is, I believe this is Lord Jacob Rothschild speaking. He passed not too long ago. And, we'll see him in chains on the other side, even though you got some turncoats that'll believe that this man can, if he was still alive and, he believed on the Messiah and kept the commandments, he could be saved. a damn Rothschild. But anyway, so I'm going to let you hear it because there's a meaning in what he says here when he says to keep it in the family. All right, let's listen real quick.
Baron James, who was head of the Paris branch and the youngest of the five sons of our Emperor Rothschild, gave an astonishingly uninhibited description of the 19th century Rothschild policy of keeping it in the family. I'll quote to you from what he wrote and make you smile. In our family, we've always tried to keep love in the family. In this sense, it was more or less understood since childhood that children would never think of marrying outside the family, so that our fortune would never leave it. You couldn't write that.
So if you know what that means, then I don't need to break it down. But if you don't know what this means, he's simply saying that they've had a policy, going back generations, centuries ago. All right, when they, basically took over the industries, with their banking system, and then they accumulated all this wealth. There needed to be a policy put in place where the wealth that they accumulated would basically flow within the family so it doesn't spread to other people. So, what was that policy? Well, it tells us in Leviticus, the 18th chapter, of all the different relations that we're to, basically abstain from, basically that's prohibited. All right, basically the law on incest. This is Leviticus 18 and verse 2. It says, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, I am the Lord your power. And I'm in the Amplified translation. It says, you shall not do what is done in the land of Egypt where you lived, and you shall not do what is done in the land of Canaan where I'm bringing you. You shall not follow their statutes, practices, customs. All right. You are to follow my judgments, precepts, ordinances, and keep my statutes and live by them. I am the Lord your power. So you shall keep my statutes and my judgments, by which if a person keeps them, he shall live. I am the Lord. No one shall approach any blood relative of his to uncover nakedness, have intimate relations. I am the Lord. All right. And then you could just read the rest to see, all the different scenarios that constitute immoral sexual relations amongst your blood relatives, or different incestuous relationships. All right, these things are, not to be done amongst us, but, let favor be shown unto the wicked. They're not going to learn righteousness. That's why it says in Psalms 50:16, unto the wicked, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? They hate instruction. So, they'll be willing to break every law in the book, just to, satisfy their greed, their lust, and to occupy the power that they have. Okay. So anyway, I'm not going to read this whole chapter. You can go into it for yourself. And these are all laws on immoral relations. Okay. And I believe same sex, relations is in here. Adultery, of course, bestiality, and incest. Okay. So this is why the scriptures say, lest there be any fornicator. And we're going to get into it. It's going to be a short clip. Let's go to Hebrews. And it's describing the nature of Esau. And this is why the Lord rejected him. Hebrews 12:16, it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know that how afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. All right. And he's a fornicator and a profane individual. NLT is verse 16. It says, make sure that no one is immoral or godless like Esau, who traded his birthright as a firstborn son for a single meal. All right. So he's immoral. All right. But guess what? They even prosper in their immorality. All right. These are the ungodly that prosper in the world. So listen up to this. There might be a little ad first before I play it, but we'll see. This is a BitChute.
Family has had lots of different interests in all sorts of different fields. I think the famous ones are probably...
I believe this is taken from an old documentary on that family.
Why?
For over 2 centuries, the Rothschild family has controlled more wealth than most nations. But there's something else they've been controlling, and it's not what you think. Their own DNA. This is shocking because what we're about to reveal isn't a conspiracy theory, but something that's documented in sealed medical ledgers across 3 continents. Between 1824 and 1877, 71% of Rothschild marriages were between blood relatives. That's not tradition, that's genetic engineering. Behind every marriage certificate was a calculation. Behind every erased name, a diagnosis. We're cutting through centuries of secrecy to expose the biological inheritance the Rothschilds have hidden in sealed vaults. This isn't about money. It's about what happens when the world's wealthiest bloodline takes evolution into its own hands. The secret written in blood. Right now, beneath Vienna, there's an archive nobody can legally access. The Rothschild family archives are well known, but no one knows the records hidden inside. It's believed that these archives house documents relating to business, estate, and private correspondence. But there are also said to be hidden medical records that reveal something dark. Access to the archives is strictly prohibited, and many of the collections remain closed to researchers, only accessible by family discretion. But why? That's where rumors of a dark genetic secret begin. Think about your own family tree for a second. Maybe you know your grandparents' names, possibly their parents. The Rothschilds keep records that go back 2 centuries, but not the kind that's...
And remember, if you know the history, they were formerly known as the Bauer family. All right. But then the name was changed from Bauer to Rothschild, which means red shield. Okay. And they know who they are. All right. These are direct descendants, all right, of Esau, Edom. All right. They're straight up Edomites. But they, Esau is the end of the world, so they're in power, and they control all the flow of wealth, through all these different industries, mainly through the banking industry. All right. So this is how they came into all this wealth. And once they accumulated it, they found a way to keep it circulating amongst themselves generation after generation. And that's the opposite of, what we endure as the true chosen people. We're under the curse. And under the curse, it tells us, let me go to it. Deuteronomy 28. It is Deuteronomy 28 and 15. And it says, if you refuse to listen to the Lord your power, this is in the NLT, and do not obey all the commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come and overwhelm you. Your towns and your fields will be cursed. Your fruit baskets and bread boards will be cursed. We will not get the best quality food. We would not be satisfied, with the bread that we have. Our bread will be defiled among the heathen. Basically, we wouldn't be blessed. Okay. It says, your children and your crops will be cursed. The offspring of your herds and flocks will be cursed. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you will be cursed. So that means that even any type of wealth, that wealth is not going to flow amongst your own. You're not going to be able to hand nothing down or pass anything down. All right. If anything, when you're born into this world, you inherit a debt. They're the ones that get rich off of the debt. Talking about the Rothschilds. Okay. So, all these flow of curses, we there's nothing for us to leave behind. All right. Even whatever we produce, another people would basically consume it, eat from it. This is Deuteronomy 28 and hold up. Deuteronomy 28 and 33, and it says, a foreign nation you have never heard about will eat the crops you work so hard to grow. You will suffer under constant oppression and harsh treatment. I'm going to go down to Deuteronomy 28, 43 through 44 says, the foreigners living among you will become stronger and stronger while you become weaker and weaker. And that's talking about, economically. All right. And you see the financial disparity, between the races, living in Babylon, and who's at the far bottom, the Judah, the head tribe, man. And then you have the Latin tribes. Everybody else is, far above us, because they're able to, set up businesses for themselves, learn skills. And when they come to America, they're able to, get loans and set up businesses, and then they set it up right in your neighborhood. And you run to them and give them your money, and then they take that wealth and go back home with it. So they wax stronger and stronger, and you become weaker and weaker. It says they will lend money to you, which you will not lend to them. They will be the head, and you will be the tail. So this is what we have to deal with on this side under the curse. So it's the opposite with the wicked right now. They're the ones that are in power. They're the ones that are in control, and they flow in wealth. And that's why King was the Psalm of David. He said he was envious at the foolish when he saw the prosperity of the wicked. Let me get the AMP on this one. It is Psalm 73 and 2. It says, this is a psalm of Asaph, not David. It says, but as for me, my feet came close to stumbling. My steps had almost slipped, for I was envious of the arrogant as I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no pains in their death. Their body is fat and pampered. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like mankind. They don't deal with the same common issues that, the average man suffer. Okay. They're in a whole different classification. They don't eat the same food that we eat. They don't shop at the same stores we shop at. They don't bank at the same banks. And they don't have to deal with overdrafts and debts because they're getting rich off of the debt. Don't nobody lend to them. They lend to everyone else. They lend to whole corporations and control these different governments. Then they can fund these different wars and take land so they can get their hands on the resources. They get all these different surgeries, a bunch of heart transplants, like what was my man David Rockefeller, that devil, that demon. All right. And all type of other things. So they don't deal with the same problems we deal with. Okay. It says, therefore, pride is their necklace. Violence covers them like a garment, like a long, luxurious robe. Their eye bulges from fatness. They have more than the heart desires. The imaginations of their mind run riot with foolishness. They mock and wickedly speak of oppression. They speak loftily with malice. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue swaggers through the earth. Yeah, and right now with this transformation into this fourth industrial revolution, they're trying to turn AI. They're trying to make AI a god on earth. And all these different plans that they've been boasting about at these World Economic Forums. All these people that you see speaking at the World Economic Forums, they're just puppets. They're faces for the actual elite, super rich banking families that, they want this, to take effect in the earth. All right. And they're trying to spread themselves as that Green Bay tree and power. But we already know that Most High, he's going to step in and he's going to offset, their enterprise. So, this is all just but for a moment because, one day we're going to look up and see that he's no longer. He's going to fall straight from heaven, from paradise. All right. And lose everything in an instant. But right now, this is the dynamic. It says, therefore, his people return to this place in waters of abundance offered by the irreverent or blindly drunken by them. Okay. They say, how long? It's like they say, how does God know? Is their knowledge of us with the Most High? Of course he knows. All right. There's nothing hidden from his sight, man. The Lord is the one that set you up. Like it says in Daniel, the 4th chapter. All right. And it also says that in Apocrypha that both riches and poverty come from the Most High. Let me find that. I think it's in Sirach 11. Yeah, Sirach 11 and 14, and it says, prosperity and adversity, life and death, poverty and riches come from the Lord or come of the Lord. All right. And you can, become rich, but you can also in a sudden lose everything too. All right, it says down here, verse 17, it says, the gift of the Lord remaineth with the ungodly, and his favor bringeth prosperity forever. There is that waxeth rich by his wariness and pinching, and this is his portion. This is the portion of his reward. Whereas he saith, I have found rest, and now will eat continually of my goods. And yet he knoweth not what time shall come upon him, and that he must leave those things to others and die. Which they understand that, once you die, you can't take nothing with you. But they understand reincarnation, how you're born, multiple generations, through your bloodline. And when they come back, they get to inherit what they left off. So this is why they keep it in the family. All right. They don't want to leave it to strangers, to other people to inherit after them. They rather leave it to themselves. All right. Let's go to Sirach 20. Sirach 20 and verse 9. It says, there is a sinner that have good success in evil things, and there is a gain that turneth to loss. And ultimately on the day of the Lord, everything that they gain is going to be lost. Babylon's going to be destroyed. That's going to destroy the world's commerce. And once we come down from heaven, out of the ship, we're going to come and subjugate all the nations. And then the first thing that's going to happen is their flow of wealth is going to be brought and transported into Jerusalem. All right. And like it says in Sirach 10, because of unjust dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the one kingdom is going to be translated to another. So everything that you swallowed up, you're going to vomit. It's going to be a restitution. All right. You're going to, you should not feel any quietness in your belly. All right. Right when you think you're about to fill your belly, then that's when the Lord's going to, He's going to bring destruction upon you. All right. So going back, this is this is what they can enjoy just for the moment. The joy is, the triumph of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. It says, verse 10, it's like verse 12, it says, behold, these are the ungodly who always prosper and are at ease in the world. They have increased in wealth. So let's go back, finish this out.
That celebrate births and marriages. These ledgers track something else entirely. From 1820 to 1900, the family documented genetics with the same precision they used for banking transactions. Modern demographers call it a closed-loop inheritance model. The statistics are undeniable. 71% of Rothschild marriages between 1824 and 1877 happened between blood relatives, mostly first cousins. This wasn't a cultural practice. It was a deliberate policy designed to trap money, power, and blood inside one continuous loop. When historians cross-referenced family trees with medical correspondence, they found anomalies everywhere. Names missing from records. Dates deliberately blurred heirs listed as relocated for health. Private doctors described patients from prominent lineages, showing episodes of nervous disorder.
And these are they're the descendants of, these Greeks and the Greeks and Romans. You can, find out a lot of incestuous history, within these Edomite families. Like, for example, it's written by certain historians that was it Agrippa? The Agrippa that Paul had to appeal to. And it mentioned how during the trial, Berenice, which was which was his sister, it was alleged that they were having incestuous relations with each other, right? Let me see if I can find that. These devils are sick. So like, let me so it says Berenice, daughter of Herod Agrippa, says, after 2 marriages in which she was widowed in her 40s, she spent much of the remainder of her life at the court of Herod Agrippa II. Amidst rumors, the two were carrying on an incestuous relationship, though this was neither proved nor disproved. So certain people, certain historians, they say that this was the case with them. All right. So Slakia, not that it wasn't his sister, it was his niece. I'm not sure if she was the niece or if she was his sister, but either way, they basically was keeping it in the family. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's just one thing, and then of course remember the Borgias. We talk about the false image of the Messiah, the white image that became famous, during the Renaissance. You had Cesare Borgia. All right, it was alleged that he was having relations with his sister, Lucrezia Borgia. All right, so this is you Edomites, man. This is how y'all get down. Okay, nowadays you'll a Edomite woman will marry her damn son. Or daughter marry her own pops. So they're sick people, but these are the ungodly that prosper.
One historian described it plainly. They controlled the world's money supply and their own gene pool. Another was more direct. The Rothschilds industrialized inbreeding. Here's what makes this even stranger. Despite generations of closed bloodlines, the dynasty didn't collapse. No public deformities, no scandals of madness, just sealed archives and quiet disappearances. That silence became their strategy. Even now, researchers can't access the original biological data stored in London, Frankfurt, and Vienna. The official reason is family privacy.
All right, so that's the end of that. That was just this little clip. All right, but yeah, man, and just for clarity, though incestuous relations is prohibited, and you can go back to Leviticus 18 to read it. Having relations or marrying a niece, I believe that's the only. I'm trying to think of the term, but basically, I think that's the only thing that's permissible, because Abraham, his brothers had passed, but Sarah was taken from one of his brothers, his brother's daughters. All right, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Sarah was one of Abraham's brother's daughters. Let me check just to be sure. Let me read. Okay, this is Genesis 11:27. It says, "Now these are the records of the descendants of Terah. Terah was the father of Abram or Abraham, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives for themselves. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, later called Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran." All right, so he took his dead brother's daughter. So, you know, dealing with your niece, you know, in this time was permitted. I don't think there's no law against that per se, but you know, other examples which you can go back to Leviticus 18. You're not supposed to marry too close into the family, but you know, maybe, you know, because understanding, you know, your family tree and you know how it all works and your genetics and all this other stuff. You know, these devils, you know, they were clever enough to sit down and figure it all out. And that's why, you know, these devils dominate, all right, keeping it all flowing within their families. All right. Now we're supposed to, you know, let me do this. Oh, yeah, there's a scripture that I wanted to bring out. Let's go to Psalm 17. And I'm gonna start at the 13th verse. And it says, "Arise, O Yahweh, confront him, cast him down, save my soul from the wicked with your sword," which in the KJV is "which is thy sword," because Esau, he is like he is the sword. You know, he lives by that sword. So we need deliverance from him. It says, "From men with your hand, O Yahweh, from men of the world, these moths of the night, whose portion of enjoyment is in this life, idle and vain, in whose belly you fill with your treasure. They are satisfied with children," right? They have descendants, and they leave what they have left of wealth to their children. See? And this is what they do. Let's go to Psalm 49 and 17. I'll start at 16. And it says, "Be not afraid when an ungodly man becomes rich, when the wealth and glory of his house are increased. For when he dies, he will carry nothing away. His glory will not descend after him. Though while he lives, he counts himself happy and prosperous. And though people praise you when you do well for yourself, he shall not go to the generation of his fathers. They shall never see the light again." All right, they shall never again see the light. All right, because the Most High is going to put their light out. He's going to, you know, what does it say in Job 18? It is Job 18 and verse 5. It says, "Yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with them." So this is what the Lord gonna do to them. Okay, the Lord gonna cut them off. Job 18 and 15, it says, "It shall dwell in the tabernacle because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His root shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings." And because they think, and their inward thoughts is that the houses shall continue forever. Their inward thoughts is that their Houses shall continue in their dwellings forever throughout generations. But the Lord's going to make sure he cut that off. All right. So hey, Obadiah 18 is definitely going to make sure that happens. But you're going to leave everything, man. Okay. Job 20. And 20, and it says, Job 20 and 18, it says, that which he labored for shall he restore and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein, because he have oppressed and have forsaken the poor, because he have violently taken away an house which he built it not. They didn't took everything, took over everything. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast a fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. All right. So, right now they can enjoy, putting their little finishing touches on their New World Order. Put basically everybody under this digital prison system that they're going to control everybody under. But the Most High is going to come and disappoint that. Eventually, you're gonna be met, by the Lord from heaven. You're going to have to answer to him. Okay. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall, terrors are upon him. And that's when those missiles, the missiles come out of those silos on that day. All right, and that's gonna basically free the world of all of its trouble. All right, and all that wealth, is finally gonna be loosed out of his hands. He will no longer have that firm grip. The Lord's going to break the staff, from their hand. So, yeah, man. So, hopefully y'all were edified by that. I just, want to go into this, just to see how they keep it in the family and why these banking families continue this. This is why their names are famous. You can't really put a face on all these people, but yet their names are infamous. They flow in that wealth, but you'll never see their faces, because they stay low key. They stay in the cut, but they out there and enjoying their lives. But they can't be enjoying it too much longer, because we already see what's getting ready to come down the pipe. All right, James the 5th chapter screams to them. So anyway, I'm end off on that note. I'm going to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Until the next lesson, I say, Shalom.